third base friendly for the Protoss than Iron Fortress was. But I don't know if Zeal's affected too much by the feasibility of a third base. Just gonna keep going with that two base all in. Almost worked the first game, definitely worked the second game. Maybe that's just where he
We'll
feels
see.
comfortable.
Definitely, there's always those players that I just feel comfortable with the cheese, aka Hitman, but we'll see. Here we are on Cactus Valley. In the top left-hand corner, the yellow Protoss player. Put your hands together for Zeal.
And in the top right, we have the red Zerg from Endurance Esports. It is JimRising.
Oh yeah, and this time it's looking at maybe it could be good for like a Stargate play out of Zeal just because of the nature of how the map architecture, a little bit more open left-hand side base for JimRising, but we'll have to see. No Stargate from him yet. JimRising, unlike game one, will get a very quick scout and be able to identify how crazy or how intense Zeal is playing.
Yeah, that quick Overlord Scout's very fortunate for Jim, especially because he's gonna see. Will this be? I don't know. Will this be the low ground gateway again?
I think it will be. We'll have to see. Both go down at the same time. Yeah, it is the low ground gateway. And, it's in this position, JimRising has gone hatch first a decent amount of times. Actually, he's doing pool first this time because he will scout. Oh, does he scout it? Yeah, he will scout it just about now, and much more aggressive than any of his previous two games, and he may be able to really capitalize off this and push through this because it is greedy, but just the Cybernetics core, that Cybernetics core, just defense period is late, and it's hard to get up a wall with this.
Yeah. And Jim actually went for a pool first here, so I don't know how he's going to react to seeing this low ground gateway. He could try to do some sort of all-in here. He didn't have an early gas. I know Cats had a build for a while where if he saw like a low ground gateway wall in, he'd put a proxy hatch here. And then right as the proxy hatch died, flood him with speedlings. And it was pretty strong. That's why it's kind of risky to go for the low ground gateway, but JimRising won't elect to do anything of that nature.
Just making sure this is game 3. It's 1-1, and you just playing it all safe. Fantastic point, Kaboosh. And by the way, thank you for casting today, everyone. Shout out to Kaboosh for it. And I think you casted it earlier, but I don't know what happened with the stream, so we'll have to see that. This time, Zeal not going a whole bunch of gas, not going 2 gas before his cyber, so he will have that wall up. And we'll see how JimRising, as you said, not really going to pressure it, just playing it safe.
Yeah, you generally have the option to take a really quick third hatch when you see this, because they don't have a forge, they can't really cannon rush you. And it's going to be a while before some gateway aggression hits, and you'll be able to pump enough units to hold that, ideally. But JimRising just taking his lings and scouting around the map, looking for anything funky here.
JimRising just playing it very safe in this game 3 of a best-of-3 series. Natural is done, and I presume they'll go into roaches again, but I think it's a really good point, Kaboosh, about that third base, and Zeal also knows that. If you look at the third base position of JimRising, he's got the probe. Actually, he did have the probe monitoring that. Just went up to the left, but he was being very careful about that, trying to make sure that no third base was going to go down, and actually does check the other one. For now, though, I mean, Zeal is playing very reactionary. He's looking for his possibility, and we see 2 more gateways coming out of him back at home. If he was doing not quite gateway aggression, he'd probably go into Robo or something, so this does look like he will be doing another 2-base push.
Yeah, the 3 gateways coming down, or the second and third gateway, and 2 sentries queued up. So I'm not quite sure what he has planned here. Generally, if you go for a 3-gate all-in, you'd be chronoing the cyber. But we haven't seen any chronos there, and he's just making a ton of sentries right now.
That's what you do when you do the 2-base all-in as Protoss. That does allow Zeal to at least push off some of these overlords, but he doesn't quite have enough, and honestly, you give yourself away so much when you accidentally kind of have to use those sentries to do it. For now, though, JimRising, as I was saying, is really going to be reacting off of Zeal to just decide what he wants to do, and Here he does see that it will be some sort of two-base play, throwing down his Roach one, getting his third base up, and now it's just an issue of how long can he hold on, and this Overlord going down actually is going to severely supply block JimRising. 3 Overlords on the way, barely is not supply blocked though, with 1 extra supplied.
See a little supply block from Zeal here. Will be cleaned up momentarily. So, what kind of all-in do you think we'll see from Zeal? He hasn't thrown out any tech yet, and he's taken his 3rd and 4th gases.
I would love to say that would be some sort of Sentry Stalker. We see a Forge coming down, should be good for +1, but no Robo, and it's kind of, I mean, you don't need the Robo for Sentry Stalker, but you need that Blink play, so it's going to be just big old Zealot Sentry all in, a little bit of an earlier style we saw in Heart of the Swarm. Not quite used as much anymore. Generally, you do see the Immortal or you do see Blink Stalker, but it can work pretty well. The sad thing, though, is the third base of JimRising is not near him. It's actually the far position, and I don't know how well this is going to push, especially with Roaches being pumped out constantly by JimRising here and Lair on the way.
Yeah, these Roaches are going to be key in shutting this down. We don't see the Burrow quite yet, which would probably help. I don't think he feels he can spread the gas, though. He is getting Lair, and he's actually moving across the map with his Roaches. Zeal is staying quite defensive. And is he going to take a third base here? Looks like
we'll see, switching
it.
Just playing it really safe and getting out a small force, but I'm really surprised he didn't do kind of the Robo play instead of throwing down the 3 early gates. Sorry, just the 2 extra early gates. Generally, that is a little bit more indicative of the pressure, but now Zeal, I mean, generally it's more indicative of being safe, but here Zeal is, yeah, just trying to secure a third base, just switching it up, but JimRising thought it was going to be aggression, and after the aggression didn't hit, why not put some aggression of his own? Oh man, the third base is, sorry, the natural base is not being watched, but oh, there's 1 Zealot there, barely will do it, but maybe these Lings can get us around. It'd be really good if he can and will get us around.
Those Zealots have been saved the sentries from getting fully surrounded here, and Zeal defended this base really well. I don't think he lost nearly anything there, and took out quite a few Roaches. Still no tech at all from Zeal. He's still on Zealot Sentry. There's the Twilight Council, so probably we'll go into that Blink, he said.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best idea on this map. It's kind of hard because the map architecture, to deal with it, you gotta blink around in different locations. Sorry, it's kind of hard for the Zerg because of the map architecture to deal with it. And actually, oh, Phoenix on the right-hand side of the Hallucination. Thought it was a Warp Prism, but it is definitely hard to deal with. And off the back of this, JimRising, first time he's been able to really secure a nice third base and saying, you know what, yeah, let's go Spire. Everything's looking good. He's got a nice economy up and even taking that sneaky 4th base at the bottom.
Yeah, these Mutas will do really well against the army of Zeal until the Blink Stalkers come out. Then they're going to kind of be not as effective. But against just Zealot Sentry, Mutas are pretty good.
Mutas are pretty good, but sadly that's not the force fighting right now. Roaches of JimRising, the Lings will manage to take out that 1 pylon, pushes it off, but forces a Phojin overcharge, and this is Heart of the Swarm, not Legacy of the Void, so that is a very expensive thing to do, especially if Zeal wants to put pressure on at any point. But for now, Zeal's really stuck with staying at home, and it's a pretty late third base, really kind of getting up. You generally want it up and sending probes there right as it finishes, but with this mock pressure that JimRising has been trying to put on and kind of coming back and putting on again, he's denied a lot of mining and just delayed Zeal overall, but for now, 3 gates adding on for Zeal, and he's got Blink +2 on the way, and this is a scary army to deal with. JimRising, I like Mutas, but why not just Hydras when Zeal is already at that Stalker composition with Blink? 28 Lings on the way, though.
He did also have the +1 missile attack as well for his Roaches, so that would have benefited the Hydras as well. He doesn't have any melee upgrades for his Zerglings. So, I do agree, I would have liked Hydras better.
Oh, the Mutas! Mutas barely won't catch that War Prism right there, but they will get in the main and try to get as much as they can. Just going after these probes, following them. 6 kills so far. Blink is going to be almost done, and Zeal saying, you know what? Not even going to worry about dealing with it. Thankfully, the Photon Overcharge will be at the natural base, kind of rebuking them from there, but the main base, oh, it still could be at jeopardy. No, it will be the third base of Zeal. There is the cannon, and this entire time, JimRising has a massive amount of Lings at the third base. JimRising get a beautiful surround and just kind of kill everything.
He's killed
Oh, maybe
40
not.
workers so far. So we have this little counterattack here from Zeal coming, but it looks like it might go into some sort of base trade here. But JimRising has a huge head start, and his army is way superior for base trading.
Definitely JimRising does have that head start. Not only that, but I mean, Zeal, his mothership core, is back at home. It's not with the main army to teleport out. So for now, JimRising takes out the third of his opponent, pulls back, and hopefully will be able to deal with this. And I mean, he's lost 22 workers, but as you mentioned, Kaboosh, we saw Zeal lose 40. The Lings are trying to get in. Beautiful force field. There's enough here for Zeal to force field for a while, but there is the Mitas and the Stalkers. Have to be careful not to move out of these Guardian Shields. There's going to be a little bit of dicey fight, and JimRising, this is his opportunity. Oh, Zeal does not want to move out of this natural base. He wants to move up or get the beautiful force fields. There they are again, but the Lings have already been able to get in.
Yeah, the production tab is completely empty here for Zeal. He just doesn't really have the income to produce, and we see JimRising making Hydra's, Mutas, or Hydra's, Lings, and even getting Hydra upgrades. And with this army getting cleaned up and no third base for Zeal, he's going to be pushing to one of these desperate two-base situations again.
And
but that is where he feels comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, Zeal, he's fine with doing that two-base situation, but it doesn't work when it's kind of a Muta Roach Hydra composition. There's just so much DPS output and so many possibilities, but the army goes down. There's the JJ JimRising! 2-1 will move on to the winners match. Very nicely played from him. And what I was saying is just, even as you said, Kaboosh snipes the third base. Just pull back and defend. That's all you got to do. Zeal honestly would have fared a little bit better just doing a two-base play. He seems to be comfortable in those positions.
Yeah, those Mutas were really the key there for JimRising. He went in, there was no answer. The Stalkers were out on the map. I can actually see it back on stream right now. It's getting replayed. And they just massacred all the probes.
Definitely those Mutas coming in that position just annihilated it. And the Mothership Core was it was a little bit indecisive. It went with the army, then said, you know what, no army. I need to defend at home. But that was the decision, really. And I think at that point when your opponent goes